So this is a whack-a-mole number 72, except this is a hybrid. I'm doing a mashup. Woke up this morning and Rob Walker from Manchester, England, did a matchup. He picked 20 artists, like Beatles versus Stones, and then picked which of the bands he liked the best of the two. We did like Peter Gabriel and Kate Bush, and then I saw, and it was actually kind of nice. And remember, okay, music is not a competition. This is not the Olympics. This is not a football game or a baseball game. It's not a sport. Music we should love and enjoy, but this is just for fun. And then I saw a little while ago Shannon, who usually does a lot of amazing features on artists, especially Joni Mitchell, did a follow-up. And so this is kind of a little fun thread. So this is for you, Rob Walker in Manchester, England. For those of you that don't know Rob, there's a link below to Rob's version of this, his original creation, and Shannon's. And I did a joint venture, so look in my joint ventures playlist and you'll see Rob Walker. Great guy from Manchester, England, and we had a fun time doing our show together. So I don't know if this is gonna work. I'm gonna do 10 polls, 10 duophonic whack-a-mole picks, and then see if I can match up those two. So unlike Rob and Shannon, I'm not going to do Beatles, Stones, and I'm not going to do Peter Gabriel, Kate Bush, unless I just happen to pick them. So this might get a little hairy. We'll see. And I'm going to post this either way if it works or not, because I could just say screw it and not post this if it's a failure. But I think it's important to acknowledge our failures as well as our successes. So without further ado, whack-a-mole number 72, artist match edition. I gotta think of a name before I post this. Number 1. Okay, this will actually work. God. I'm not going to be so lucky because these are the same genres. Okay, Emmylou Harris and Rodney Crowell. Of course, Rodney Crowell started playing with Emmylou Harris back in 1975 with the Hot Band, at least when I saw Emmylou Harris, and he plays on her first several albums, a bunch of her albums. Great artist in his own right, great country crossover artist in the country vein, not country rock, but country, but a great writer. And then there's the great George Jones singing Hank Williams. Well, you know, they both covered, I mean, Emmylou Harris done Hank Williams, and George Jones sings because Graham Parsons was into George Jones, and if you know the connection of Graham Parsons. So this is a Mercury comp. He salutes Hank Williams. So I'm going to say I'm going with Emmylou Harris. You know, he's probably the more traditional country choice, but Emmylou Harris is a favorite of mine. No offense to Rodney Crowell, but I'm going with Emmylou. She's top billing anyway. Oh, this is fun. This might work. Okay, David Bowie, The Next Day, and Alice Cooper, Pretties for You. This is a wonderful record. One of his early records. Is this the second or third Alice Cooper record? You know what I'm going to say about this is both artists have dressed like women, and I know that for a fact. This is an interesting cover. Some people just hate this cover. The Next Day. I love that the designer took Heroes and just slapped this other cover on it. I'm a fan of this record. This is the record, I'm trying to think it's the one before his final record or two before, but anyway, these are both great records, but I'm going with David Bowie. David Bowie is my pick over Alice Cooper. You know, Alice Cooper the band, then Alice Cooper the person. Warner Brothers record, beautiful painting on the cover, nice gatefold. Fantastic record, but there you go. Dressed like women, somewhat. Thanks, Rob. This is a good idea. Matchup. The matchup. The whack-a-mole matchup. Huh. Okay. Great folk singer Fred Neil actually just showed this in another video, and I can't remember which video I showed it. Fred Neil was a folk singer. He wrote the song "Everybody's Talking" that Nielsen covered, and was the theme song to Midnight Cowboy. He wrote a song "Dolphins," the dolphins in the sea, and Passion Sources. This are the sort of the Moroccan and African source material, the artists that Peter Gabriel used for the Passion of the Christ and the Passion soundtrack, and they put out a version of the sources of the original. This is a really great music of African artist, and a great comp. Now, how do you match this? Because this is a comp and this is a person. You know, I'm going with the comp. I mean, come on, it's like there's 14 tracks on here, so it's 14 against 1, not a fair fight. This guy is pummeled to the ground, but I like Fred Neil. He went on to work with Dolphin Rescue in Florida after he kind of got out of the music business. So, matchup number 3. It's kind of like chocolate peanut butter. Bauhaus, Al Green. Now, Bauhaus, post-punk goth band. Was it Peter Murphy, right? In this band, I saw them once. I didn't see Peter Murphy's reunion stuff. He did a series, like I think a week or so, last few years in San Francisco, kind of a review of revisiting some of this music. Al Green, of course, Take Me to the River, Let's Stay Together. Take Me to the River is not on this song. How Do You Mend a Broken Heart? I mean, come on, Al Green. You know, even getting hot grits thrown on your chest, and now he's the Reverend. Now, I don't think Peter Murphy's a Reverend, but Al Green is. So, you know, Bauhaus, Al Green, the matchup. This is like, remember on MTV, those fights with the claymation things? What is it? Anyway, I'm going with Al Green. How can you not? Come on, look. And there's 4 Al Greens there. So, 4, of course there's more members in Bauhaus. Was it 4 or 5 guys? This is good too. Anyway, Al Green. Lou Reed, this is Mask. No, it is not. It's not Mask. This is Ecstasy. Ecstasy, this was a Record Store Day issue. This was an album he did for Reprise Records. I had the CD, and then I picked up this. I love this record. It wasn't one of his most famous records, but Lou Reed or Boz Scaggs. Now, most people know Boz Scaggs because of Silk Degrees, but I've done showcases on Boz, and I'm a big fan of Boz. This is a show dig. This is an album dig, not a show dig, and this is a later record of his, I think 5 years ago, give or take. And there is a great song on here. King of El Paso, I think, or You're Not. You know, gotta go with Lou Reed on this one. And I love Boz Scaggs. He played on the first 2 Steve Miller Band records too. But I'm going with Lou Reed as the artist. I think he's had a vaster catalog of really I mean, obviously with Velvet Underground and beyond, really interesting creative stuff. Boz Scaggs, Blue Eyed Soul, really great. It's, you know, as good as that record was, Silk Degrees, it became so huge. That was 1976, 77, one of the biggest records of that year. How can you follow that up? But he's, you know, if you see him ever play now, he's still great. Bluesy stuff. Only thing is, points go against him for me because he got toured with Michael McDonald. Michael McDonald. I might even like actually Phil Collins more than Michael McDonald. Okay, let's pull from the Beatle wall, okay? I'm going to do these two. Let's match up some Beatle things. Yeah, I just want to get my... This isn't a fair fight just because. Okay. All right, well. Second solo, George Harrison, not counting his Zapple creations, Living in the Material World. I got Born in the Material World, John and Paul in the Material World. Though we got Ringo on a tour, Richie on a tour. There we go. George Harrison, All Things, no, I'm sorry, Living in the Material World. And then a Paul McCartney interview record. This is a promo when he was on Columbia, interview record. You can get these at a dime a dozen. You can find these on eBay pretty cheap. Now, Paulie or George. Now, it's not really fair to compare, but in this case, I'm going with George Harrison. All Things Must Pass. Not this album, but it probably could well be the best Beatles solo album of all time. That wasn't a fair fight, was it? I have no idea how many we're doing, so I'm just going to keep going for a while. Okay, one of the great ballads and singles and records of the 70s, won a Grammy, is from First Take, Roberta Flack, The First Time I Ever Saw Your Face, by Ewan McCall, a English-Irish folk singer, and she covers it, and she records the definitive version of it. This is produced by Les McCann, the great jazz artist who did that Compared to What album live at Montreux, Switzerland in the late 60s, which was or early 70s, I'm sorry, which was a hit. But this is a wonderful record on Atlantic Records. Won all sorts of Grammys. Grammy Award winner. Yeah, right there. See, it says that. Wonderful record. And then Donovan, this is his early folk stuff with Universal Soldier, the cover of the Buffy St. Marie song. He probably made the definitive version of that protest song. Colors, and he does some covers like Candyman, bluesy stuff. But this is a really good record. And I mean, she's friggin' amazing. But I hate to say it, I'm going with Donovan. Donovan, I'm a big Donovan fan. I love pretty much his entire catalog. I have 5 of her albums, and I love Roberta Flack, and she's probably important in so many other ways. Donovan, sometimes people like to laugh him off as a B-team hippie Bob Dylan second stringer, but I love Donovan. So this is on Hickory Records. See, it's not a fair comparison, not a fair fight, right? Let's do 2 from the jazz wall here. Just so you see I'm not cheating. Django Reinhardt and Stefan Grappelli. The great Django Reinhardt, one of my favorite guitar players, Stefan Grappelli, violin. The Hot Club of France, there's so many records. They played throughout the 40s, late 30s and 40s there, and just great stuff. When was this one recorded? I don't even see. In 40s, I think. And then Sergio Mendes, Favorite Things. This is a kind of a nice record. This is when he was on Atlantic. He went to A&M, and Primal Roots on A&M is my favorite. But this is arranged and conducted by Dave Grusin, so it's got a little slick look, but it's actually a pretty good record. It's a lot of Spanish stuff, but he did some covers like I Say a Little Prayer, which is the Burt Bacharach Hal David song, which Dionne Warwick had a big hit with, and several other, most of the rest of it. Well, My Favorite Things is on here, of course. You know, we know that from the musical, and of course, John Coltrane made it pretty much of a jazz standard. So with this, I'm going with Django Reinhardt and Stefan Grappelli. How can I not? I love it. Okay, let's do two more maybe. The great Del Shannon. Didn't Jeff Lynne produce one of his later albums? Maybe no, maybe it's Dave Edmunds, I can't remember. Rock and Roller, the song Runaway was his probably biggest hit. Bonnie Raitt years later had a cover of Runaway. This is late 50s, Hey Little Girl, Handyman. Just a great rock and roller, sort of teen idol, but a little more, not quite the pretty boy teen idol exactly, more of the real deal of rock and roll in the 50s and early 60s as well. And then we got Gruff Rhys, the lead singer of the Super Furry Animals. This is Pang, his last solo album, came out last year, I believe. I'm going Del Shannon. No offense, if it was Super Furry Animals, maybe it'd give a little more run for the money. I love the Super Furry Animals. I love Gruff's record. I saw the Super Furries 3 times, and I saw Gruff solo once. Never saw Del Shannon, so he's getting the nod for this matchup. Blood and Chocolate. This is a real thick Elvis Costello record. And then the Chieftains 4. Now, didn't Elvis sing with the Chieftains on one of their records? I can't remember. It seems like something he would do. Declan McManus, meet Paddy, what's his last name? Paddy Maloney. McManus Maloney. That's the fight of the century. McManus Maloney. Now this has the song "Women of Ireland," which became the theme of the Stanley Kubrick film Barry Lyndon, and this has Blood and Chocolate. This is I said thick already. Thick record. This was a record that was hard to get into initially, and later I really loved it. I wouldn't say it's punky, but it's just 1986. It's thick. I'm going with Elvis Costello. Elvis Costello wins this match. Sorry, but I love the Chieftains. Great Irish music. I have not everything. I have a lot of their music on CD. I have about 5 of their LPs. Okay, this is the very last one. And what section should I pick from? What? Couldn't hear you. What section should I pick from? I'm going to pick one from the Beatles and one from the other section right there. And we'll see what happens. I'm not looking, I swear. The Beatles. Now you think I'm going to pull the Stones, didn't you? Because actually I did pull an R, but it's not the Stones. So there's no Beatle or Stones battle of bands here. But of course, with Maslow, we know who would win that. This is the American Rubber Soul. This is a mono version. It's probably my original mono I got, the U.S. Capitol Records with the rainbow label. I know that. God, this is arguably you could say this is better than the way the Beatles sequence this in the UK. This is more of a folky record, folk rock records, amazing record. And then we got Linda Ronstadt, Get Closer. Now, if we're doing a matchup here of who I'd want to take out on a date, who do you think is going to win? Of course it's the Beatles. I mean, come on, right? Having dinner with them versus having dinner with Linda Ronstadt? I love Linda Ronstadt. No, she's not underrated. The biggest selling female artist of the 1970s. This is her later. This is again produced by Peter Asher. So the connection here. Peter Asher had a sister, Jane Asher, that Paul dated, and Paul lived with Peter Asher, Jane Asher, and the Asher family early on when the Beatles moved to London from Liverpool. Peter Asher produced once she went to Asylum, actually, starting with one of her Capitol records, but most of her records, and managed her for a long time, her and James Taylor. This is not one of her better records, but it's a little more rock and roll. She does some great covers. Let's see, what's the... Mr. Radio, I think you're gonna... yeah, not one of her great things, but she looks so darling on that cover. So, I'm going with the Beatles on this one. No surprise there. But Linda Ronstadt, I'll give you my phone number. Meet me after dinner or next week. Let's catch a movie together. Anyway, Whack-A-Mole number 72 with a mashup for Rob Walker, Matching Artists. It's like the prize fight of the year. Mazzy loves you, and I don't know if that worked or not, but let me know. Take care. BC, Mazzy loves you.